Hey, hey, hey. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. It is Tuesday night, and you know what Tuesday night means. It's an opportunity for the inside scoop. So we are live, live, live. I'm so excited that you are spending some time with me on tonight. And if you weren't able to catch the live Inside Scoop, I thank you for joining me on the replay. If you are catching me on the replay, go ahead and put that in the comments. Hashtag replay. You see this little armband? Ignore it. I'm okay. I haven't been in the hospital or anything. One of my daughters is an athlete and she is running in the Junior Olympics this week. And so we all got COVID tested. I tested negative. Woo woo. So this is my armband so they know that I am tested. We are trying to keep the numbers down in Jacksonville so that we aren't flooding the stadiums and getting people sick. So I just wanted to say I'm all good, all good. Thank you so much for joining me for the Inside Scoop. Let me know who is joining me in the comments and let me know who's with us on tonight and where you are connecting with me at. You could be on YouTube. You might be on MGM's Facebook page. You might be on my personal Facebook page. Either way, I'm so excited to have you join me. Many of you know that on Tuesday nights, I've been coming live every Tuesday during the month of July at 8 p.m. to share a little bit more about me. A lot of times people are wondering why I post what I post, why I do what I do. Who is the woman behind it all? And so this is just a little opportunity for you to get a little bit more nuggets about me. So if you follow me on Instagram, then you may have seen I did a live earlier today letting you all know that I was going to be live tonight and that the topic was going to be around the book, Girl, Let's Get Over It Together. Many of you know that I was a part of a collaborative effort. That means that myself and 6 other women, we co-labored together and we wrote a book, Girl, Let's Get Over It Together. And so I thought that this would be a great opportunity for me to come on and share a little bit about me, but also why I joined this collaborative effort. When the book first launched just a couple of months ago, that was one of the questions that I was asked. But if you didn't catch that, then you wouldn't know the answer. And so you wouldn't understand why I'm so passionate about this book. You wouldn't understand why I'm so passionate about helping people move into their purpose. I'm passionate about helping all people move into their purpose, but specifically, I want to see women who are wives and mothers moving into our divine calling. There is something that we were put on this earth that we were created to do. And I want to see every woman soar into that place. So that's what kind of who I am and what we're talking about tonight. But I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about just kind of the journey in general and why tonight we're talking about this. I believe that this is a season of all things new. This is a season where some things are shifting, some things are changing. And so that stuff that we cover up, that stuff that we put behind the surface, the stuff behind this, the things that we don't allow people to see. I was talking to a group of ladies about a week and a half ago, and I was talking about the scripture, Revelation 3:20, which is where God is saying that he's at the door knocking and he's waiting for us to let him in. And I gave this example of, think about the number of times where you're doing something and God is saying, I want to come in. And you're like, I can't really let you all the way in. So think about your neighbors, your family members. Somebody randomly knocks on the door uninvited. What happens? What do? Do you let them in or do you let them stand outside? Many of us will have them stand outside because we're not ready to invite people into our space. We're not ready for people to see what's behind the scenes. We don't want them in our homes, in our private places, seeing that we have dishes in the sink, seeing that we have laundry that still needs to be folded. Maybe the TV stand hasn't been dusted off. Maybe the baseboards haven't been dusted. And so we leave people on the outside and we don't let them in. We don't want them to see what's really going on the inside. We really don't want them to see that our closet might be overflowing or that our refrigerator might be bare or empty. We don't want them to see the real deal, right? We show them what we want them to see. And that's a lot of times what I was sharing with the ladies is that's a lot of times what happens with our relationship with the Father is he's at the door knocking saying, I want to come in, that I want to sup with you is what the scripture says. He says, I want to have some intimate time with you. I want to develop a relationship with you. The question is, are you inviting him in? When he stands at the door and knocks, are you letting him in? Or are you trying to cover up those places? Because the reality is God knows all, he sees all. So he already knows those things that you're hiding, those things that you're not allowing him to see when you thought that he wasn't going to notice that you were in this relationship that you ain't had no business being in, when you thought he wasn't going to see that bottle of liquor in the cabinet. He sees it all. He knows it all. When you thought that he wasn't going to see those pins you stuck in your purse at the job, when you thought nobody was paying attention and you stuck that extra soda in the grocery bag while you were doing your own swiping at the checkout counter and the self checkout counter, he saw it. And so we don't want to invite him in thinking that we can hide those things. Well, we can't. And in this season, this is our season to unmask. This is our season to unveil. Ignore my little outfit. I went running a little bit earlier, but this is our season to say, whatever it is that we're trying to cover up, we need to uncover it. Why do we need to uncover it? We need to uncover it because all we're doing is continuing to put covers on top of things, and we're not getting to the root of anything. Essentially, when you think about covers, they cover, right? They protect some things, but what ends up happening, if you think about it, is usually dark underneath the cover. And so it is in the darkness that the enemy lies. It is in the dark places that the enemy comes in to attack us. It is in the darkness where the enemy is destroying us. We already know that the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. However, we don't have to succumb to that. We don't have to bow down to that. All we need to do is say, I'm no longer going to live in darkness. I'm going to uncover everything. I'm going to open the door. I'm not going to hide this stuff that's going on. I am going to bear it so that it is in the lightness where God dwells, that he can get the glory, that he can do the cleansing and the purification, and that I can move in wholeness, that I can be healed, whole, and set free. And it is in that place of light, when we uncover the darkness, that we can get moving towards our purpose. So that is the season that I believe, not just that I am in, but that we are all in. When I got that revelation and understanding, I said, I've got to share a little bit more about myself and my story. A lot of times we look at each other on the outside. We look at each other on social medias. We look at these Facebook pages, we look at the Instagram profiles, maybe even the TikTok and the Reels, and we're like, oh, they look so happy, oh, they jigging or whatever it is. But really, is it really what it looks like? Do you really think that people are putting on these social media platforms and profiles? Do you think that they're putting on the things that they're really dealing with and suffering with? Do you think people are putting on there when they got a foreclosure notice, when they got an eviction notice, when the car got repossessed, when the lights or the water got turned off? Do you think they're putting on there when the husband walks out, when they caught the wife cheating, when the kids were disrespectful, when they got arrested? Do you think all of this stuff is being placed on social media? It's not. And because it's not, we're living in a world that is not reality. We're living in a false reality, and it is time for us to dismantle all of that and say, I am going to walk in wholeness. We walk in wholeness when we allow God's light to shine on us, within us, and through us, and we're able to walk those things out. That's what tonight is about, and that's what this book is about. It wasn't easy for me to get transparent about some things in my life, because I'm one of those women who have lived behind the mask for so long. I didn't want anybody to know that I've had some struggles, to know that my marriage hasn't always been on the up and up. I didn't want people to know that sometimes I struggle and suffer in silence. But why not? Why not? When I think about it, and when I spent some time saying I've got to do something different, I believe that everything that we go through is for a purpose. Every painful encounter that we've experienced, everything that I've experienced, everything that you've experienced is for something greater, something bigger than you and I can think or imagine. When we release that to the Father, He says, now that you've given it to me, I can do something with it. He can't do anything with the stuff that's still buried, the stuff that's covered up, the stuff that's in darkness. So we uncover it to get rid of the devil's playground, but we also uncover it so then God has something to use for His glory. He says that He's with us always until the end of times. When we understand that, we know that even when we unveil ourselves, even when we become unmuted, even when we share our painful past, our stories, our testimonies, then we are then able to go forth and allow Him to really show up in the way that He so desires. You see it exactly. What the scripture says is that the truth is what sets us free. That's what this collaborative effort is about. The collaborative effort is about unveiling and saying, I want to be free. And we become free when we no longer allow chains to hold us. We become free when we say, I'm not going to be bound by the enemy's tactics. I'm not going to allow people. I'm not going to allow the fear of people. I'm not going to allow shame. I'm not going to allow guilt to suffocate me. I'm not going to allow it to hold me hostage and keep me bound any longer. Let it go. Release it. Let the pain go. Let the people go. Whoever was there in the past and there was some backstabbing, let it go, because it is in that place where you are able to go forth and be completely who you were called and created to be. You see these scriptures being put on the screen. So it's not just me saying that this is what we need to do. Whom the Son sets free, whom the Father sets free is free indeed. But we've got to release it to Him and allow Him to have His divine way. That's what the book was about. In this book, there are 7 women who come together to unveil themselves, to say, let me tell you what it is that I've experienced. Let me tell you something that I've gone through. Let me tell you something that has been on the inside of me that has been holding me back. So it's a book all about losses. It is about loss of self, loss of relationships, and it's even about loss of people. The distinguishing factor between loss of people and loss of relationships, some people lose relationships through a situation like a divorce. There's a story about that in here. Other people lose people in their lives through death, which is a part of the life cycle. But how do you deal with that? These things could potentially happen. The question is, do you know how to deal with it? If you haven't dealt with it yet, something is coming your way. Everybody's situation is different. But because death is a part of the life cycle, it's coming around. And if you haven't experienced it yet, one day you will. The question is, will you know how to handle it? That's what the book is about. The book is about being able to unmask yourself in a safe place so that you can be healed, whole, and set free. My particular chapter, the first one I mentioned, is loss of self. My chapter is about losing oneself, because there was a part in my life, there was a part of time during my marriage when I felt that I had lost myself. The title of my chapter is A Breaking of the Soul and a Reconciliation of the Hearts. My God, a breaking of the soul and a reconciliation of the hearts. When you think about that, when you think about a breaking typically means something is no longer whole. Something is no longer intact. We break bones, we break limbs, we break glass. When it falls, it breaks, it shatters. We break a lot of different things. Sometimes it's not an easy process to put it back together. And so when you think about this, a breaking of the soul is that internal piece within you. It's that place where you don't know how you're going to get to the next moment. You don't know how you're ever going to survive this situation. Have you ever experienced a time in your life where you just felt broken, where you felt alone, you felt isolated? That's what this chapter is about. I remember feeling that way. I remember feeling a breaking in the pit of my soul that I thought was going to take me out, that I didn't know how I was going to get through the next level, how I didn't know how to move beyond that pain that I was feeling in the moment. But I'm still here today. So guess what? I got through it. As I would think about this breaking of a soul, my mind always goes to the story in Matthew, the parable where Jesus is talking about the where he's talking about the bread and the fish, the loaves, the 2 loaves of bread and the 5 fish. He has just come to a place where he's ready to rest. He is approaching a time. He has his disciples around him. They've just got finished ministering. They're exhausted and they just want a time of rest. But when they get to this specific place, they approach a crowd. There are so many people that want to come to Jesus to see what Jesus is carrying on the inside of him. And so they come to him. But the hour is running late. The time is going on. And so what happens is they get to this hour and the disciples say, Jesus, all these people are here. It's getting late. We've got to send them away because we don't have anything to feed them. You already know when it gets a certain hour, maybe now, if you have not eaten, you're looking for something to eat because it's been a long day. There comes a time in every day where we're looking for something more, something to fill us up, something to get us through to the next moment. Maybe for you, it's not a physical meal, but maybe you get to a point where you need a spiritual meal because you feel depleted. You feel let down. You feel like something is missing on the inside of you. And so you're wondering, how can I be poured into so that I can make it to another journey? How can I make it one more minute, one more hour, one more day? Because there's something in you that needs to be filled up. And that's why we get fuel. That's why we need food, whether it's in the natural or in the spirit. So the disciples understood that this season, that this time was upon them. And so they say to Jesus, do we send the crowd away because we can't feed them right now? And Jesus says, no. Let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. There is something that we possess. We as in me and you, that we possess that is going to carry us into the next hour, that is going to get us to the next journey. And so what we are focused on here is what is in your hands. What do you have? Who do you have surrounding you that can help say, let's tackle that situation together? Jesus said, let's see what we have. And this little boy said, my mommy packed me some lunch today. This is all I have. All I have are these, this little bit of bread and these couple of fish. And Jesus said, give it to me. He said, give me what you have. He took it. And if you know the story, which I'm sure you do, he takes the things that he had in his hands, what he had around him. He didn't send the crowd away because he knew they needed to be fed. He took it. And what did he do? It says that he blessed it and then he broke it. He blessed it and then he broke it. In this chapter, we're talking about a breaking of the soul. God has already blessed you, but there might have been a breaking. There might have been a breaking in the relationship, a breaking in the job, a breaking in the finances, a breaking in the marriage, a breaking in yourself, where maybe you, like me, had made some decisions that you weren't exactly sure of, that you weren't exactly proud of. Maybe somebody has done something to you that didn't feel so good and they broke something within you. Either way, there was a breaking, but there was a breaking and then there was a feeding. He blessed it, he broke it, and then he fed the multitude. So with the little bit that he had, that nobody saw the power in, that nobody saw the strength in, he was able to take it and he was able to do abundance with it. So he took the breaking, and from the breaking came so much that there was too much to handle. It was so plentiful that there was too much to handle. So whatever your breaking situation is, whatever loss you've experienced, whatever loss you have overcome, God says, I want you to know that after the breaking is a miracle. There was a breaking and then there was a miracle. After the breaking of the soul, my chapter talks about a reconciliation of the heart. So after the breaking, after the I can't get the word out that I want. After the painful experience was a powerful manifestation of reconciliation. There was a miracle of reconciliation. Even after something is broken, God can perform a miracle. The same way that he did it with the bread and the loaves, or the loaves and the fish, rather, the bread and the fish, he can do in your life. So I'm just here to encourage you that no matter what it looks like, no matter what it looked like in the past, no matter what it feels like, God can do a new thing. I said that earlier, that we are in a new season. And so in this book, it was an opportunity for me to uncover some things. It was an opportunity for me to take my mask off on some things. It was an opportunity for me to become honest about some situations that I faced in my marriage where there was a breaking. But after the breaking was a miracle. After the breaking was a reconciliation. And then that same way that God has reconciled some things in my life, in the same way that God reconciled some things in my marriage, he says, my daughters, I can do the same in everybody else's situation. These 7 women have come together to unleash what was on the inside of them, to share the power and the anointing that they were able to walk through. And I am sharing this with you because you may not have had the same breaking experience that I had, but there was a breaking nonetheless. So in my chapter, I don't just talk about the breaking experience. I share the breaking, I share the reconciliation, but I also walk through the 5 steps that it took me to really move beyond the breaking, to move to the point of reconciliation. And I am hopeful that when you pick up your copy, that you will understand that your new season is upon you and that there are some steps that you need to take in order to get to your new beginning. There are some things you need to do to get to your new place. There are some things that God has promised us that is waiting for us as long as we are willing to uncover. I started by saying we've got to welcome him into our spaces. If we don't welcome him in, then we don't give him the space that he needs to come in and to do the work that he desires to do. We need to give him the space and the opportunity to get back in his presence, to get back on the wheel and say, Potter, do a new work. That's one of the steps in my chapter. To get back on the wheel and say, do a new work in me. Revive me again. Refine me, Jesus. Purify me. Cleanse me. All of that can be done, but there are some steps that you might have to walk through. Maybe you didn't have a breaking of the soul. Maybe you never lost yourself. I remember what it felt like, what it looked like to lie in bed thinking, is this all that is for my life? Is this it? As I was looking around at my green bedroom walls at the time, I remember thinking, this can't be all. I remember sitting in the living room and staring at this wall, staring at this TV stand, thinking, there's got to be something more than this. This house cannot be all that I have for my future. There's got to be something more. And I remember feeling alone. I remember feeling like I didn't have a way out. I almost felt like the walls were closing in on me and I didn't know where to turn. And so I made some bad decisions in that hour. I made some bad decisions in that season, some things that weren't necessarily pleasing to God. But he said, I can restore and I can reconcile as long as you bring to me those things that you're covering up and keeping in the dark places. And in order to do that, he said, let me free you from that. I'm going to give you an opportunity to unveil. I'm going to give you an opportunity to unmute yourself. I'm going to give you an opportunity to share just a snippet of your story with the world that's going to help another woman become healed, whole, set free, and delivered. My God. And that is what this book is about. That is exactly what this book is about. So my encouragement to you is just to think about these places that you may have been in your life. Think about the losses that you may have endured. Maybe it wasn't a loss of self that I experienced, but maybe you lost some loved ones along the journey. Many of us are coming out of this COVID experience, and we lost some people along the way. If we are sitting here on this live or watching a replay, you have an opportunity to be thankful to our Heavenly Father because He spared your life, and He spared it for a reason. And because He spared it, there's something that He wants you to do with it. Because He spared it, there's something that He's calling you out of. There's something that He's calling you into. And this is your season to say, all right, God, I surrender, submit myself to you, commit myself to you to do a new thing, to do a new work. And I am going to press forward and allow you to do this new thing in me. What I am encouraging all of us to do in this hour is to really think about all of this. Think about who we lost along the way. How did we handle it? How did we handle those losses? How are we grieving through these situations? Are we still dealing with this painful past? Or are we now able to really walk forward in fullness and in wholeness of where it is that He is calling us into? If not, then I encourage you to grab your copy of the book. Maybe you say, I'm good. I've already walked through all of these seasons and I don't need any more support. That's amazing. Well, guess what? That means it's your opportunity to share that story, share that testimony with somebody else. Whatever you have endured is for somebody else to come out of so that they don't have to suffer as long as you did. I don't know your story, but I do know that you probably suffered longer than you needed to because many of us were suffering in silence because we don't know who to talk to. We don't know who to turn to. We don't know who we can trust. And so we keep it to ourselves and we walk it out. I kept so much to myself for years. But God said, this is the hour, this is the season to unveil it and to share it so that another woman can walk through it and get through it more quickly and more effectively. That's what the book is about. There's a lot of forgiveness talk in the book. So I'm going to just end on that if there is something that you've done or something that has been done to you, as you decide to walk forward, you've got to release the baggage of that pain. And part of releasing that baggage is forgiveness. Forgiveness is a gift that you give to somebody else, whether they ask for it, whether you think they deserve it, whether you completely know how to. It is a mandate. It is a requirement to move forward and to walking in purpose. There is absolutely no way we can walk forward and being who we're called and created to be, holding on to things that we weren't destined to carry. That unforgiveness of self and or others. A lot of times that unforgiveness of self comes from shameful decisions that we made. Sometimes unforgiveness of others is based on things that they did to us. Whatever the case may be, whoever it is, self or others, you gotta let it go. There's a lot of talk about forgiveness in this book. Many of the chapters deal with forgiveness because that's how critical forgiveness is in overcoming losses. My encouragement is to grab your copy. And again, if you don't feel like you need it, grab it for a sister girl, grab it for a friend, grab it for a niece, grab it for a goddaughter. Somebody needs to know how to handle these challenging situations that if they haven't already come, they will come. Maybe they've came and you're still walking it out. You're still grieving the situation because you're not quite sure how to walk out of it. You're not quite sure how to deal with the disappointment of losing a baby. Maybe you're not sure how to deal with the trauma of infidelity. Maybe you don't know how to get over losing a loved one through death. Maybe that divorce has taken you out and you're still trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces and walk forward in life. All of those things are covered in this book. So my encouragement is to grab your copy. I will drop the link in the comments. I will also drop a link on the page. If you head over to www.transform and soar.com. You'll get some information about how to follow me. If you put /book on the end of that, then you will definitely get the link to the book. I will actually I'll just drop it in the comments. Another place where I know you can get that book is by heading over to my website, www.marquitagreen.com. There is a link there for sure. www.transformandsoar.com/book, or just head to my website. The link will be there and you can get your copy. I will sign it personally for you and will drop it in the mail to you immediately. I am totally 100% behind this book. I believe this is something that all women need. I am sharing this with you today because I know what it felt like suffering in silence for way too long, and I don't desire that for anybody else. I only wish that I was open enough and that I was more transparent with what I was dealing with at the time to have gotten some help when I was walking through my situation. Now that I know better, I can do better. And by doing better, I am now encouraging all my sister friends to grab a copy of the book, to hear the story, but to figure out how to get over it. A breaking of the soul and reconciliation of the hearts is the chapter that I wrote in this book and that I want to share with everybody with whom I come in contact with. There is something that we have experienced as wives and mothers, and I want to make sure that I am helping to walk with wives and mothers to do exactly this, to release so that we can let go, so that we can be free to be who we were called and created to be. With that being said, I am going to log out. I am so thankful for all of you for joining me on tonight live. And for those who are catching the replay, don't forget #replay. Drop it in the comments. If you have any questions, you can drop them in and I will respond. I respond to every question. You can DM me. I respond to every DM. Again, you can find my website, multiple ways to connect with me there. Head on over to www.transformandsoar.com. That is what I am helping women to do, to transform their lives and soar into their purpose. Transform from the past and soar into purpose. Transform the current situation and soar into purpose. You get it? I'm helping you soar into purpose. And so I am here, ready, willing, and able to walk with anybody, any wife and mother who is ready to do something different, who wants something different in their lives. You don't have to walk it alone. You no longer have to suffer in silence. That's not what we were called to. We were called to dwell together in unity. And that's what we're going to do on this journey. As I said, we're moving into a new place. So let's move into this new place together. Let's move into this new place as whole as we can and let God do his new thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love y'all. Peace.